Hey, welcome to episode 125 of Awkwardly Awesome Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Freeman, and basically I enjoy many things in life, but two of the things I enjoy are bringing out the best in other people and bringing out the best in myself. I'm a speaker and a podcaster and an author, and I love it all. I really do. And I guess I also take lots and lots of photographs. I don't guess that. I know that. When I met my guest today a few weeks or a month ago, I was impressed because she was going along in life, and had suddenly had an opportunity to do something really major where she would, would be in the public eye, and instead of finding all the reasons not to do it, she said yes, and it's just amazing. So I'm excited to introduce Tracy. But first, this.
Today's guest, Tracey Quint.
Welcome back. Tracy Quint has many titles: wife, daughter, mentor, athlete. Well, sort of, in her words, and candidate for governor of the state of South Dakota. Yes, you heard that right. Candidate for governor of the state of South Dakota. Tracy grew up in the Midwest, the daughter of a senior master sergeant in the Air Force. She has undergrad degrees in mass communications and photography, and a master's of art degree in communication studies. Please help me welcome, give an awkwardly awesome welcome to Tracey Quint. Yay!
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for being here, Tracy. The as I the more I've gotten to know you in the past month, the more and more fascinating your story becomes.
Well,
So
thank
so
you.
so when you were a kid, at say age 7, did you think to yourself, yeah, someday I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to run for governor.
I don't think that crossed my mind at 7. I think at 7, I was still convinced that I was going to train dolphins or something like that.
What did you love about the idea of training dolphins?
Um, I don't know for sure. I think I wanted to be like a whale or dolphin trainer after I saw the movie Free Willy, so so maybe that had some influence on it.
And then what were your next career choices as you kind of got into high school?
In high school, I think that's when I really started to want to get into some sort of media. I picked up a camera, I think my freshman or sophomore year, and learned how to do photos. And I think that was a big part of who I was for a really long time. I got to intern with one of the photographers at the newspaper in the town that I grew up in, and they let me borrow the dark room and start developing my own photos. And I just kind of had a love for that for a really long time. So that was part of, I want to do something with media. I want to do something with photography, something along those lines. So that's where I really started to pick up what I wanted to do with my future, I guess.
So you basically had the opportunity to have your own dark room and develop as many pictures as you wanted.
I wouldn't say it was my own dark room, but I had some inside access to some things that a lot of people didn't have. So that was really cool.
What do you love about using a dark room?
I think it's, being able to manipulate the photo like manually and watch it just appear with the chemicals and stuff and being able to work with that. It's kind of it's a different feeling than just pulling it up on a digital program.
Way different.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy about the process of going out and looking for images to take photos of?
I'm I'm definitely more of like a scenery or nature. I think I was telling you before the show, I really like working photographing abandoned buildings and ghost towns and just thinking of the stories that those images could tell if they could talk, and those items that you're photographing could tell if they had words to say them. Just the memories that are behind the buildings and stuff in those situations is fascinating to me.
You say you have a specific fascination with photographing old churches. What do you love about old churches?
I think the photographing old churches, like not only the architecture of the one room church house that used to be kind of like the meeting place back in the day, but just the memories that are inside those buildings, the baptisms, the weddings, the funerals, the first communions, all those kinds of things that they were kind of like central to that community. So the memories that are in those buildings, I think just surpass anything. It's really cool to think about.
Well, thank you. You've gotten me thinking more about all that's gone on in old churches too. You um y- so how do you go from loving the dog room and photographing, which is kind of a solitary thing, to saying yes when you got the opportunity to run for governor?
That is kind of a big switch, isn't it? I think that what really kind of made me want to actually take on that role, I've been involved with the Libertarian Party here in South Dakota since I moved up here, which is about 2016. And I've always just kind of wanted to help the party make a difference, I guess, in the state. And, you know, I've been doing a lot to improve my public speaking and improve my ability to, network and work with people. And, you know, I'd kind of had a little bit of an inkling that I might be nominated to run before the convention happened. And then when it did and the opportunity came, it felt like something you can't say no to. Um, Especially if you want to improve the state of your home state, somebody's got to take that role. Why not me?
Tracy Grateful Liggins is here, and Chris Hines is here. That's awesome.
I know both of them very well. Thank you guys for being here.
So when you say yes to running for governor, do you have any trepidation about it or any anxiety? Or?
I think anytime you know that you're putting yourself in the public eye like that, there's gonna be a little bit of like, "Ooh, what are they gonna dig up on me?" Like, I don't have a whole lot of skeletons in my closet, but you never know what they might find. And just being that public about yourself is a little nerve-wracking too. Uh,
Mm,
agreeing to participate in, like, statewide debates and, that kinda thing. You know that people are gonna judge everything you say, everything you do, and I guess what I learned early on is, you gotta work on, you know, trusting who you are and believing in who you are and don't read the comments, you know?
you got to work on trusting who you are, believing who you are, and don't read the comments.
Yeah. Yeah, don't read the comments. People are mean online.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. So for people who don't know, would you describe briefly describe the platform of the Libertarian Party?
Sure. I guess the briefest way to describe the Libertarian Party is that libertarians believe that, we should have as little, uh the government should have as little influence on people's everyday lives as possible. People should be able to make their own decisions about how they want to live, where they want to live, that kind of thing. Um, having private entities kind of be, what kind of takes over and lower tax burdens on the individual and that kind of thing. So I guess the quick and dirty of it is, less government input on your personal life and, less money taken away from your paycheck in taxes and that kind of thing.
Chris says the worst thing is she's a Giants fan, and then Tina says, "Wait a minute, now I'm a Giants fan."
Well, go Big Blue. Yes, I grew up a Giants fan, so we can't all be perfect, I suppose.
Chris says, other than that, she's got great character.
He's just mad because he's a Vikings fan.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that.
That's fair.
What are your thoughts on having a civil discourse where in a room where people have different views on football or different views on politics or whatever?
I think having a civil discourse is really the only way that we can, you know, get along as a society. We're never gonna agree on anything, even within, like, our own parties or our own, you know, team fandoms. We're never gonna always agree on, like, the best solutions. So being able to have a civil discourse, being able to compromise and talk to each other about what we agree and disagree on is the only way that we're really ever gonna get anything accomplished. Um, I hating somebody because of what they believe or, disagree or not agreeing to work with them, period, because of what they believe isn't going to get anyone anywhere.
Um, Chris says he's a Vikings apologist. That's fun. I might start using that, Chris. I'm somewhat of a Vikings apologist too.
Fair enough.
Dialogue and discussion over domination and demands. So
Yes, there we
good.
go.
So 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 you were in debates like on TV and and what do you do when you hear something and those feelings of like anger and wanting to prove a point and wanting to make someone want to come up? What do you do with all those uncomfortable feelings that emerge around debate?
I think what you have to recognize is that the other people that you're debating with are probably having those exact same feelings.
Oh wow, yeah, for sure.
And if we all just acted on those feelings, I think we would get exactly nowhere. So I think being able to just say, you know, I see what you're saying, but here's where I land on this issue, and here's why I land there. So just being able to reason with them and say, I hear you, but I disagree, and here's why. Giving good reasoning why. I mean, you might not change their mind, but at least you're giving them, you know, your own feedback, and you're giving them reasons why you disagree.
So we can listen to people who agree with us, huh?
Yes, I think we can.
Do you have any tips on listening to someone who's saying something that you really disagree with it, and that makes you want to stop out of the room and go la 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 la?
I mean, I'm sure that happens quite a bit. I mean, I know that there's definitely times where I just don't want to hear what somebody is saying. But I think the more you hear somebody out and more you kind of try to realize where they're coming from, the more you can kind of understand why they believe the way they do. Even if you
Mm.
don't agree with them, because chances are they're not going to change your mind and you might not be able to change theirs either. But just understanding where they might be coming from is I think a big step in the direction of at least just getting along with a person, maybe not necessarily changing their minds or being able to agree with them, just understanding where they're coming from.
Chris also suggests seek common ground.
Mhm. Yeah.
What would you say about that?
I mean, just like we're never going to always agree on something, we're never gonna disagree on everything, I don't think. So if you can find something that you have in common with them, you can kind of build a little bit of rapport, and that might at least, build some sort of bridge between you. Even if you're never going to be besties or anything, you can still get along, you can still work together.
That's such a good point. Just because two humans are going to agree on every single thing doesn't mean that anyone disagrees on everything.
Exactly, yeah. I think there's always gonna be something we have in common with somebody. If you can find that thing, then you can build that rapport, you can build that relationship.
So I was speaking at an event last week, and a young person got up to the mic after it was done and asked me what my favorite. No, not even that. He asked me what I ate for breakfast that morning, and I thought, wow. At first, I'm like, that's kind of a fun, goofy question, but then I'm like, wow. You could, I could ask anyone in the world what they ate for breakfast and just start a conversation.
Yeah, yeah, and it could be just something as benign as that, and, you know, I don't think you can get mad at somebody because of what they ate for breakfast, you know? That doesn't normally start an argument anyways.
Uh, um, D- Dina?
Oh, yeah. Hi, Dina.
Amen to that, sister. She said this a few minutes ago, so I'm not sure which that she's referring to. But amen to that. I love the way you have shared your views without insisting that others see your way or getting mad that they don't agree with you.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
That's a high compliment.
It is. It definitely is.
Did you learn any? Oh, no. What did you learn about these issues we're talking about having civil discussion amongst people who have different views from your master's program, if
Oh,
anything?
I think a lot of what I learned in my master's program was, theories on communications and why people communicate the way they do and why their communication styles might change depending on where they are or who they're with and stuff. And I think, when you're with a group that you feel safe with, you might be more likely to, really express your actual opinions, and, you're not going to feel quite as judged as you might with people who might disagree with you than in situations where you're around strangers. And I think that's something to remember too, is like a lot of people, no matter what, like are agreeing or are saying the things that they are to either, you know, not make waves with somebody or to impress somebody or, kind of go with the flow or keep up with the Joneses, that kind of stuff. So everybody's kind of struggling with their own communication and their own ability to say what they actually mean. So I think that's something to keep in mind too, especially in the political sphere and that kind of stuff. You're always going to be trying to appease your party or appease your constituents and stuff. It might not necessarily be communicating what you want it to be, but that's your goal, I guess.
How do you think we create safer spaces for each other to be safe to be ourselves? So that's a huge question, I
That's a
imagine.
that's a really tall order, but I think a big part of it is just, accepting people for their beliefs or for what they say, and not necessarily attacking. Or if you don't understand what somebody meant by something they said, don't jump to conclusions. Be don't judge them just off of what you think you heard. Clarify with them, talk to them, figure out what it is they actually meant, uh, and then try to understand why they feel that way if it's something that you still disagree with, rather than, writing them off as somebody that you don't like because of that opinion or because of what they said.
Like as probing, I heard you say such and such. What do you mean by that? Could you say more about that?
Yeah, yeah. Just try to understand what they really mean by what they said. And if you don't understand what it meant or what they were trying to say, then maybe try to figure that out before you judge them.
Hmm. Can can you say more? Like we're all familiar with political campaigns and the idea of people running for office, but what's the behind the scenes of that like? What doesn't the average person see about the work of running for public office?
I mean, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that I don't think people realize is necessarily happens. There's a lot of, you know, calling to get in touch with reporters. There's a lot of, you know, searching for funding, which is a huge deal when it comes to politics. I think money makes a way bigger difference in politics than we realize it even does. So I think that's something that I don't know if people realize, that there's just millions of dollars poured into trying to get somebody elected into office. I'm not saying that the Libertarian Party has millions of dollars, because we obviously don't, but you know there's a lot of the money exchange going around. There's a lot of talking about the issues and trying to figure out where you stand, where your party stands. Do you agree with your party on that platform? That kind of thing. It's a lot of discussion and thoughts and stuff behind the scenes that are I didn't realize I was getting myself into right away, and so it was definitely an interesting experience to see some of that behind the scenes.
So you've alluded to this a little bit. You don't only have opposing candidates who you have different views than them, of course, but you sometimes have different views than the people in your own party about certain issues, huh?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of that. Like I said before, you're never going to 100% align with a party no matter what. So you just kind of have to consider, is the party platform something that I can, um, you know, agree on, or at least, fight for? Is it something that my constituents want? Is this something that I would be able to fight for, would be able to, in good conscience, support? And I think, that's just something you have, a thing you have to make, an issue that you have to personally decide for yourself.
Um, what are the what did you? Oh, did you think about what life would be like if you won the election?
You always kind of think about that. Yeah, like what if something crazy happens and I actually win? And what would be the first thing that you would do? And that kind of thing. So I mean, yeah, you definitely have those considerations in your mind of, what am I going to make as my first, piece of action as governor, that kind of stuff. And it's kind of cool to think about, but it's also like, hold up, let's get through the election season first and see what happens before we start making those decisions.
Hmm. Well, so you made a big leap by saying yes when the opportunity came to run for governor. What other big leaps have you made in life?
um I think anytime that you make a big decision like moving to a new city, or um starting a new program with schooling or anything like that, those are big leaps. Like I moved up to Sioux Falls in 2016. I think that was a pretty big leap for me. I'd been living in Iowa for a while, and I kind of made the trek up north. I keep coming where it gets colder every time for some reason. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, I moved from San Diego back to South Dakota, so.
Oh, so yeah. Yeah, you came back to the cold.
Did you meet your husband in Sioux Falls, or did you move with him?
Nope, I met him here in Sioux Falls. He actually we had mutual friends, and he messaged me on Facebook and said, "Hey, a friend of ours said that we would get along well and we should probably meet." And I guess we started chatting from there, and the rest is history. So,
Hmm. So that's really cool.
yeah, yeah. I
So,
like
well, oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say I like to tell people that he stalked me on Facebook before we met, but it's not exactly true.
So what brought you from Iowa to Sioux Falls?
I actually moved up with an ex that I was with a different relationship that didn't work out, and I ended up meeting my current husband after that one did not work out. So it was a good move.
So this is really a story of how best laid plans sometimes pave the way for something much more. So you moved to South Dakota with someone that didn't work out. You met your husband, and you got suddenly have an opportunity to run for governor, probably because you moved to South Dakota.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I don't know if it was a fate thing or if it just happened to be in the right places at the right time, but yeah, because of the move to South Dakota, I ended up having a run for governor. So,
How did you decide to get involved with Toastmasters?
actually, I would probably say that my good friend Terry, who I think is still following the show, invited me. We met at, I believe, the Women's March. Both of us were working at different nonprofits at the time who had tables there, and we'd kind of been seeing each other at different events and kind of friends ever since. And then he invited me to, come to Toastmasters and try it out and be a guest for a few sessions. And I kind of fell in love with the concept of improving my ability to be able to speak in public and stand in front of a crowd and not feel nervous, that kind of thing. So I kind of kept going. I ended up joining the club and I'm still there. I think I've been there close to 3 years now. So
Wow.
yeah, it's definitely been a good thing for me personally. I feel like I've definitely improved in how I communicate with people and how I'm in my ability to, talk with strangers and be on a podcast even.
Yeah, well, thanks for saying yes to being on a podcast.
Well, thank you for inviting me. This has been, this is definitely a great opportunity.
So, so people say that pub, oh, uh, okay. So this is how not to start asking a question, but but as well, it's like a common thing to say that public speaking is one of the greatest fears. I'm stumbling because I don't know the exact research on that, but let's just assume that public speaking is one of the greatest fears. How do you get beyond that fear? Or would you say you're beyond that fear now?
I don't think I'm ever going to be completely beyond that fear. I think there's always going to be like butterflies in my stomach or a little bit of adrenaline rush when you get up in front of a crowd and start talking about something. I think that you know, the experience that I've had with Toastmasters and a few other things have helped me to be able to control that feeling and use it as energy versus fear and being able to just concentrate on, the rush rather than the fear, I guess.
Can you say more about learning how to concentrate on a rush rather than being paralyzed by the fear of doing something?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you have the initial like for me it's almost like a dopamine type of thing once I've kind of gotten into the flow of everything and, I feel like I'm passionate about the subject I'm talking about or, you know, I see that people are listening to me and, whether or not they're nodding their heads along or whatever, you kind of have like a little almost like a feeling of like, oh, this is awesome.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm in control of myself. I feel and I'm doing something that, years ago I would be terrified of doing. You
Hmm.
kind of have that
Hmm.
almost feeling of, you know, accomplishment and dopamine coming through saying, "Yeah, I did this and I'm feeling great about it." I think that initial like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so scared to do it." but being able to kind of push past that and know that once it's done, I'm going to feel amazing and accomplished, and I'm going to love the feeling afterwards.
It's hard for us humans because the initial feeling of resistance and the butterflies are is really a gut punch sometimes, a resistance saying don't do this thing. It's really scary. That feeling can be so seductive and seems so all encompassing.
It definitely can, yes.
But
I
you're saying if we just do the thing, we can almost act beyond, take actions until the feeling dissipates, kind of.
I mean, I think that's part of it. Yeah, definitely. And I think like the more you're able to practice it and the more you're able to do it, like you're gonna see like, that outcome afterwards. And, it's not necessarily gonna like, it's not gonna cause me pain. It's not gonna cause me, that, any kind of actual physical harm once you kind of get past that initial like fear and and feeling of dread that, I'm gonna survive this and it's gonna be awesome when I'm done.
Speaking of practicing, and another thing that requires concentration. um, how do you use you say? And I love this that you're an athlete, sort of. How do you get into bowling and
Yeah, I was on the state championship team in bowling in high school. Um,
in Nebraska?
yeah, yeah, my
Did
junior year
you
we
say the state championship team?
yeah, my junior year, our high school bowling team won state.
Whoa! So so why in your bio did you say I'm an athlete sort of instead of saying I'm a state championship bowler?
Uh, I think I kinda said that as more of a kinda poke at myself, like, I mean, we all s like, we always had the debate on whether, like, bowling was actually athletics, but I've also tried other athletics throughout my lifetime. I was on a I was on the cross country team for a couple of years, and I think, I ended up with my biggest sports injury from tripping over my own 2 feet. So, I had, like, literally tripped over my own foot and fell into a hole and hurt my back, like
Oh, oh.
so I kinda make fun of myself and say, "Yeah, I'm a super athlete," in that way.
So what does it take to be a state championship bowler?
A lot of practice, and just kind of figuring out, you know, what kind of throw you have and where to aim on the lane and how like there's a lot more into what goes into like your throw in bowling than a lot of people realize, how greasy are the lanes that day? Are they dry? Or how much are you spinning your ball? How, that kind of stuff. So it's it's actually a lot of concentration and a lot of practice that goes into it.
Speaking of stress and anxiety, when you get up and to bowl as just you with your ball in the lane, how do you deal with the feelings that that can distract you at that moment?
I'm not gonna lie, like, it's a little nerve-wracking, and I don't know if I ever really got to the point where I was able to kind of, like, let that go and not concentrate on the stress. I think the best that you can do is really just concentrate, between you and the pins, like, forget about the background noise, forget about the spectators, that kinda stuff, and just
Mm,
try to be as, uh in tune with yourself as you possibly can.
mm. Do you still bowl?
For fun, I do. I'm currently not on a league. I would love to be again. So if anybody's looking for a bowler, let me know. But
I'm going to. I'll connect you with a friend. She bowls. I don't know if they're looking for anyone, but I'll definitely connect you.
I'm fair warning, I'm pretty out of practice right now though, so don't expect too high don't have too high expectations for me.
So I really enjoy that turn in the conversation. Just I'm thinking about what to ask you about, and thought of bowling, and then suddenly here you're champion Nebraska championship bowler. We can. It's so easy to think that to not ask questions, to not, like Chris says, to seek common ground, or to just make assumptions. But we can find out so many amazing things about people just by asking questions. It's so cool that you're. What's your high score? What's your best game ever?
Um, it's been a while, but it was either 249 or 259, somewhere in that range.
Nice.
Yeah. I haven't thrown my 300 game yet, but maybe someday.
Once I'm proud to say I broke 100.
Hey, that's a big deal too.
Speaking of different facets of a person, so so you host trivia nights and karaoke.
I do. So I host, it's not necessarily trivia, it's more of song bingo. So you get a bingo card with song titles on it, and then I run a program that plays clips of different songs. You look for the titles on the songs, or title on the bingo card as they play. So it's like bingo, but I think a little bit more fun because you get to kind of dance around to the music and hear songs that you haven't thought of for a while, that kind of thing. So
Is it a certain genre of music or?
we do all kinds of different genres. So everything from oldies and classic rock to modern rock to hip hop, if that's a country. We have a lot of different ones that we do.
And do you create the game?
No, I did not create the game. The categories are already existing. I am a host, and I actually love going around and getting to know the people that are coming to play. So, I mean, it's it's kind of a cool job being able to listen to music and just get to know people and start having conversations with new people and that kind of thing. That's something that I really love doing. So,
Sweet.
yeah.
I mean, do you create the particular bingo card for the night? Like, do you pick out the songs and?
Nope. So the way the program works is that we're able to it just randomizes the um the way that the cards are set up, and then the songs in that category are just kind of put on random then. So it's not like I go through and just put them in specific spots or anything. It's just a randomizer at that point.
Oh, and is this all digital?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we print out the cards. They have the card in front of them, but it's a program that randomizes it for us.
So speaking of getting into different things, how did you get into this?
So I actually started off a group of friends of mine, and I used to go and play every week after work, and I started following the page on Facebook, and then they posted one day saying, "Hey, we're looking for more hosts." And I was like, I could do this. I know music, because something that I grew up with. And I was actually the group that I went with called me uh the non Shazam, because that's a program you can use to like recognize the songs, but I could recognize most of them without Shazam. So
The non-Shazam.
yeah. So I was able to actually name most of the songs without using the cheater program. So
Talk about something you must just love music so much.
it was definitely something that I was raised on different genres of music. It's something my dad and I kind of bonded over. We went to the first concert that my dad ever took me to was when I think I was 11, and it was a Tracy Lawrence country concert. And then since then, we've gone to a lot of concerts together, and we've visited Cleveland, Ohio a couple of times to see the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of a pilgrimage almost, I guess. But,
Well, is that a pretty extensive museum?
it is, so I guess I don't know, like, the best way to describe it, but there's, exhibits from all kinds of different artists and musicians from all throughout the years, and, like, they have, Jimi Hendrix guitars and outfits to, um they had outfits from back in the boy band days when I was growing up. They had NSYNC and Britney Spears and them and all that kind of stuff too. Like, it's a hodgepodge of all kinds of different music genres and stuff. Kind of it's kind of a really cool location.
Gosh, that must be so much work for whoever created all that. I mean, wow.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely an undertaking, I'm sure, but it's a really cool, experience if you ever get the chance to go to Cleveland. I definitely recommend it.
What would you, changing subjects, what would you say to someone who wants to become more courageous in their life?
I guess, I would say the biggest thing is to believe in yourself regardless of, what other people might have told you in the past, or what other issues you might be facing, is just know that your whatever changes you want to make in your life, and whatever things that you want to do and whatnot with your future, you're worth it, regardless of what other people might have told you or how you might have believed before. That if you want to make a change, if you want to be braver, you're worth making that change, and seek out people that make you feel safe and make you want to be that braver and better person.
So you surround yourself with people who inspire you
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be a braver person.
I definitely think that I do. There's always going to be people that want to bring you down, and maybe not even know that they do. They might not be doing it on purpose,
Hmm.
but you kind of have to prioritize the relationships that make you want to be better and make you want to, you know, just
Hmm.
keep moving forward.
How does the action of trying new things contribute to being courageous in life?
I mean, I think just the act of trying something that you didn't think you would be able to do, or something that you never thought of doing, kind of gives you a bit of a rush and a bit of a like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Like, kind of gives you a spark of confidence, even if you're not great at it the first time you try it. Nobody's going to be perfect at everything when they first start trying to do things. Um, but anything is worth a shot, I think. And if you want to improve yourself, just being able to say like I did that, and maybe I didn't do it well, but I did it.
Were you great the first time you bowled?
No, I don't believe so. My mom actually got us into bowling when I was in like 3rd or 4th grade, so probably not.
So you've been bowling for a long time.
Yeah, my mom got us into the bowling league when we were quite young. My grandma had been a bowler, and I didn't really get a chance to know her well. She passed away when I was very young, and I think that was kind of a way that, like, my mom thought we could connect with her was
Wa-
to have us be
Was
in
your
bowling.
is your mom a bowler too?
No, and my mom was never really into bowling, but I think she wanted us to be able to have an activity that we could do, and, bowling's something that you can kind of take with you your whole life. Like, you're probably not gonna play football when you're in your 50s, but you could still hit the bowling alley and hang out with friends and do that as an activity, so
Um, Gandhi famously said says, "Be the change you want to see." And what would you add to that? Being a change maker yourself.
what would I add to that? I would say, be the change you wanna be, and if you're not sure if you can do it, it's still worth a shot. Give it a try anyways. Um, you might not necessarily, like, succeed in that specific. I'm not the governor right now, so I didn't get voted in, but I still feel like I learned a lot from the process, and I made a lot of connections that I never would have made if I hadn't have taken the chance. So I think that's a big thing is, it's always gonna be a chance when you try something different and when you try to make a change, but I think it's worth it even if it's even if you don't know if it's gonna be successful, it's worth a shot.
How did you taking that chance of running for governor? How did that help your community? I mean, it changed you, but how did it change things around you?
Without getting too political on anything, I think that when you have the choice of just 2 candidates, like, they can be polar opposites, they can be bickering between each other, it could be, I think, a very vitriol situation. I think when you add more candidates and more people into the race, I think that forces everybody to kinda take a look at each other and say, "Maybe I need to improve how I'm doing this," or, "Maybe I need to be better at communicating this issue." I think adding more more voices makes everybody have to be a little bit better and makes everybody have to kind of improve their thought process a little bit.
That makes so much sense that like companies have boards of directors and organizations do. Why do we think that just candidates, just two people debating issues is enough? Well, why not have more and have a more nuanced debate
Yeah,
and yeah.
exactly. I think the more viewpoints you can throw into a situation like that, I think the better outcome you're gonna end up with
Hmm.
eventually.
I think the more viewpoints you can throw into a situation, the better outcome you'll end up with. That's amazing. Um, So in my business, I talk about the power of doing I am perfect best. What it means to me personally is we have dreams, we have vision, and what we want for our lives and what we want to contribute. We have the vision of our best, but so often we make mistakes or things don't go right, and instead of using that to stop, I envision like learning from that all that and remembering your best and continuing to go towards it. What it just occurs to me that you heard all that a few days ago. Sorry, but what does doing your imperfect best mean to you, Tracey Quint?
I think it means to me that I'm always learning and growing in whatever situation that I have, and that I'm put into or get myself into, that I'm not gonna be perfect at everything. I'm not gonna be an expert in every subject matter, but what I can do is always try to continually learn from the situation and try to better my knowledge, better my abilities to improve and continually to try to do that, even though I might not be able to be perfect at it the first time. But if you're always trying to improve yourself, I think that's the best you can do.
If you're always trying to improve yourself, it's the best you can do. You have a lot of neat one-liners that are really cool to think about.
Thank you.
Eh, oh, two questions. If someone wants to contact you, is it best for them to look you up on social media?
Yeah, that would probably be the best way. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram, I'm TEQ28, so if you wanna follow me on there. Facebook, I'm Tracey Quint hyphen iceberg, ISBURG, and I'm always willing to have a conversation if anybody has any questions or wants to get together and discuss politics or philosophy or music. I'm always up for a conversation about music as well, so
Cool, or communications.
I mean, yeah, uh that's definitely in the realm of things I would love to talk about, so
Cool. Well, any last insights for like questions I didn't ask or last insights you want to share before we sign off?
I think I would just encourage anybody who's listening that if you have an opportunity that scares the bejesus out of you, but it's still calling at you, like, maybe it's worth a shot. Um, it might not be running for your state governorship or anything like that, but there's always opportunities out there that people can give a try to and see, you know, what lessons or what life might bring to them because of it. So if something scares you doesn't necessarily mean it's not worth giving a shot to.
Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you, and thanks for thanks for all you do in the world to promote understanding, to promote different viewpoints, and just thanks for being you, and thanks for being on our Greatly Awesome podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Oh wow. I encourage you all to have great conversations, and if it intrigues you to start a podcast, start one, because like I get to talk to fascinating people like Tracy every week for an hour, and I get so many new ideas coming my way, and so many good stories, and so much joy, and it's just fun. Bringing out the best in people and people's brilliance, and we all have it, but sometimes we forget. But it's so nice to remember. Thanks for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it, whether you're watching this live or on replay. And next week, no flyover. Steve Young's been a journalist in South Dakota for a long time. He's retired now, but he's going to have some great insights about appreciating where we live locally as well as world travel. So please tune in next week, and thanks for being you. Have a good week. And time for the outro. And I don't think I'm supposed to say time for the outro, especially in episode 125, but I did. So here it is. Bye.